Hi, this is Heather Bergman with Peak Facilitation, and I'm here today talking with my dear friend, Chris Treese, retired gentleman extraordinaire. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Heather.
Hey, would you tell our friends why are we talking? What do you know about collaboration? Tell me about your journey.
Well, I certainly don't consider myself an expert in collaboration, though I've, in too many years of experience, have been down some successful and unsuccessful collaborative paths. I worked for the Colorado River District for 28 years. I retired just about a year ago this week, and still am trying to figure out the new path in retirement. But I remain sufficiently involved in a number of water communities and water activities on the state, regional, and local level, some of which involve or will involve some collaborative efforts, I suspect. But I certainly have quite a few collaborative efforts from 28 years of time with the River District.
And
Some successful, not all successful.
and we're going to talk about those. What was your function at the River District? River District.
Um, I was the manager when there was a department of one, and continued as the manager as the staff grew, of external affairs. I think the setup is important. I think the invitation is important, and I think having clear expectations, not just prior to the facilitator's ground rules, but the invitation, and the decision about who needs to be involved. You certainly need to have certain groups involved, but you don't have to have certain individuals involved. And be selective about who will be representing that group or interest. And I think we all know that there are individuals who are more inclined to be collaborative, and certainly those who are less inclined to consider a collaborative process or a collaborative outcome. And speaking of collaborative process, it also has to be one of those expectations, or full disclosures, has to be a willingness to commit the time. That collaboration is messy, but it's slow. It's time consuming. And parties need to acknowledge that and commit to that, and not raise their hand and say, hey, I think I can solve this. Let's vote.
I'm bored now. Let's vote.
Let's vote.
When should you not collaborate?
I think you should not collaborate. You should not bother with the expense and the time, the heartache, the brain damage. If one, you're not willing to go through all that and to commit to the process, if you don't feel that you have parties equally bought into a facilitated process, a collaborative process. It's not just when you should not do it, but when you should pull the plug too. I think that the funders, the organizers, the party that is committed to a collaborative outcome, project proponent or regulatory body or whoever, I think there comes a time when you are a responsible steward of your own or others' resources, and you say, you know what, this isn't working. Everybody has clearly established their positions, and it doesn't look like there is any room for movement or consideration of alternatives. There's no discussion about gray. We have staked out clearly black and white. And I say that we end this conversation now and respect everyone's time and whatever resources we would have committed in the future. And, in an ideal world, maybe everybody raises up and says, wait, no. but and I can think of situations where they would have said, wait a minute, no, wait, okay, I can soften, let me rephrase.
Please let me try again.
Yeah. But I also can think of times when everybody was said, you're right. No, we're clearly not getting anywhere. And we didn't develop the trust in the process. We'd gone 9 weeks. We didn't develop the trust. And in fact, in that situation, I don't think the trust was there.
28 years, the River District, plus the time that you spent before that doing other things, mining, etc. How has collaboration changed in the course of your journey from way back then to retired gentleman extraordinaire?
I definitely think it has. I think that just even the notion, well, what we call collaboration has changed. I think when I started 40 years ago in the mining and energy business, we had a public process, but I wouldn't call it necessarily a collaborative process. We followed a collaborative model of sharing information, of bringing people along so that there could be input into an outcome that had mutual or broad buy-in, but it wasn't all comers. It was a select group. It was multiple decision-making bodies together, working on coming from their respective positions and constituencies. I think collaboration has also become a bit of a norm. People are more willing to buy into the process rather than, wait a minute, really? Isn't the collaborative process, isn't this going to take a long time? And can you guarantee me the outcome? No, of course. Collaboration is now more accepted, and people are willing to make that investment as well as take that risk.
Part of your work with the River District was sort of being the liaison with governmental entities. You spent a fair amount of time with the Colorado legislature. Love to hear your thoughts on the intersection of politics and policy, and whether and how you feel like that influences collaboration. Does it matter if there's politics? Is there always politics? I don't know.
Well, yes, there's always politics, and I think there's always politics in everything, but there's certainly always politics in resource issues, and especially in limited resource issues. Unlike the larger public process that now more readily accepts a collaborative process, the political process is less inclined now than even it was 10 years ago to come let us reason together kinds of conversations, whether that was a genuine collaborative process or just come let us reason together as two individuals with different positions. We see it everywhere and every day that the nation, the state, the communities are divided, are bipolar in any issue you want to offer up, and that people tend to retreat. They find safe harbor. They retreat to their position. It more often these days is politically aligned or associated, but it's their position. It's not necessarily a thoughtful position, but it is their position, and that's it. Mm-hmm. They are firmly entrenched in that position. And certainly that is true in spades in the political process, in the elected legislative political process.
So when we think about collaboration and natural resource issues, do we do best to try to keep the politicians out? Or is there a value that can be added by bringing that political component in? I appreciate your point, which is to some degree it's already in there, but there's elected component and there's not. Does that matter?
Uh, sure. At a minimum, you have to acknowledge the political component, and in any issue, it looms greater or larger or lesser. But it involved with the question of bringing the politician in. Um, my answer is generally no. I think it'd be a mistake because a politician is always a politician, and a politician is not collaboratively inclined. They are inclined to an end, and the means is rarely collaborative. Like any conclusive statement, there are exceptions, and I think that it really goes back to the question of who's involved, who do you include in a collaborative process? How inclusive is inclusive?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the case of the politician, it's the rare politician that that can be collaborative. But I do think that there are any number of politicians for whom they would welcome a collaborative solution. That if the various constituencies that are pulling on them in opposite or many multiple directions actually came with a collaborative solution or a collaborative conclusion or position, that would be welcome. That puts the politician in a wonderful position. But as far as the politician committing the time to it and being collaborative in the process, it's a rare individual who is a politician, an elected official, who can do that, both for time as well as political inclinations. They know they're going to get quoted somewhere, so they're likely to stamp out a position as opposed to explore shades of gray.
What about politicians as conveners? Hey, group of stakeholders, I don't know what the answer is, or I think I know what the answer is, but if y'all got a better one, I'll take that.
Yes, I think they can be very effective. Number one, they have everyone's attention. Two, they can, there was a Senator Tillman Bishop from Grand Junction, served forever in the Colorado legislature before term limits. And he was famous for saying, okay, I've had it. I've heard from all of you, but I've heard from all of you individually. I want you all to meet up in this office or that room at 3:00 this afternoon. And I want you to block out 2 hours. And he would come in and he'd lay out, I've heard from you, and I've heard from you, and I've heard from you, and I've heard from you. Now, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to referee this to a conclusion. I'm going to leave this room. I will be right down the hallway in my office. I don't want you coming out of here until you come out and come to my office and say, we've reached a conclusion, we've reached agreement. This is how we want to proceed.
Did that work?
Very often it did.
See, this is the kind of governor I would be. Like there are people locked in rooms all over Colorado. It'd be fantastic.
An elected official can bring the parties together and challenge them and give them the incentive.
28 years doing the things in water, plus all the things you did before that, and maybe even since then. If you could summarize your advice or your big takeaway from a career that had a lot of collaboration in it, 10 words or less, what are the big lessons?
Collaboration works, but not always.
Ooh, that was pithy. Well done, sir.
Hey, Chris, 6 weeks ago when I interviewed you, I forgot to say thank you because I'm a jerk, and I wanted to say thank you for taking time to talk to me.
Oh, no thanks necessary. That is a fun conversation, and I'll be anxious to see how much of it ends up on the editing room floor. I can only make my recommendations.
Well, we'll keep you posted on that. And in the meantime, cheers to you, my friend.
Likewise, and always best wishes.
Clink.